Milley's their buddy, and he was working with the Chinese against our elected president. So I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. The other concern I have is there's this almost reflexive defensiveness for the Chinese. They talk about, well, the Chinese made a mistake, and they talk about the Chinese communists as if they're like just a Western political party as opposed to a totalitarian entity that seeks to increase and expand power at the expense of any semblance of human liberty and human life. And you saw this with General Milley. And this is where I think leadership needs to change. And the fact that he's still chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is an abomination. Judicial Watch has been investigating the unprecedented politicism that he's been involved in as Chief of Staff. He was literally an anti-Trump general. And he's had a conversation with Nancy Pelosi, essentially reassuring her that, no, don't worry, I'm running the show. If President Trump wants to do anything crazy, I'll be there to stop him. As opposed to, Speaker Pelosi, you need to be speaking to the President of the United States. I report to him, and if he gives me lawful orders, I'm going to follow him. But instead, there was this, in my view, seditious conspiracy with Nancy Pelosi against the sitting president. And then on top of that, he was calling China to reassure the Chinese communists, don't worry, if we plan to do anything, we're going to warn you. We're going to warn you. And my colleague, and you've probably seen him on our channel and on our media, Chris Farrell, he's a member of our board, he directs our investigative department, he's a former counterintelligence officer with the Army. He thinks General Milley should be court-martialed. And I think he wrote a piece on this that's well worth sharing in large measure with you. Mark Milley, who, as I said, is chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Chris says should be subject to what is called an Article 32 hearing. And those of you who are veterans probably know very much what I'm talking about here. And it comes under the provisions of the Uniform Code of Military Justice for his conduct and statements as reported in various media and a book. An Article 32 hearing is the military equivalent of a civilian grand jury, and should probable cause of the commission of a crime be established, it would lead to General Milley's court-martial. And as Chris notes, the Army has an affirmative duty to maintain good order and discipline, especially with regard to senior leader misconduct. And he compares it to the case of a general who, you may recall from history. I guess if you're watching this, you've probably taken a history class, more or less, and you probably do remember him. Billy Mitchell. He was a brigadier general who was court-martialed in 1925 for the following remarks concerning two deadly military aviation incidents. These are the statements he made. These incidents are the direct result of the incompetency, criminal negligence, and almost treasonable administration of the national defense by the Navy and War Departments. The bodies of my former companions in the air molder under the soil in America and Asia, Europe, and Africa. Many, yes, a great many, sent there directly by official stupidity. So, in today's day and age, that probably wouldn't have batted an eyelash. But in 1925, those statements resulted in him being found guilty of, quote, conduct of a nature to bring discredit upon the military service. And then the court suspended Mitchell from rank, command, and duty with the forfeiture of all pay and allowances for 5 years. He resigned from his commission as an Army officer, and he was held accountable for what his colleagues in the military thought to be egregious undermining of the military leadership in a way that went beyond the pale. Now, Chris reports how General Milley called his communist Chinese military counterpart in October 2020 and January 2021 with unauthorized promises and assurances of advance warnings of U.S. military intentions and actions. America learned of these contacts through the book Peril, authored by Bob Woodward and Robert Costa. In the book, Milley is quoted as saying, "General Lee, I want to assure you that the American people is stable and everything is going to be okay. We're not going to attack or conduct any kinetic operations against you." And then, and this is the kicker, "General Lee, you and I have known each other for 5 years. If we're going to attack, I'm going to call you ahead of time. It's not going to be a surprise." How could a general say that? I mean, that's treachery. If we're going to attack, our people's lives are on the line, and we're going to increase the risk to their lives by alerting the Chinese, this general says that? What? And he admitted he made the calls, and he said that he acted within his authority, a spokesman said for him, as a senior military advisor to the president and secretary of defense. But in fact, he didn't consult either. And he got a copy of the call transcript, by the way, the authors got a copy of the call transcript between Pelosi and Milley. The book provides detailed quotes from both General Milley and Mrs. Pelosi. In one exchange, Pelosi at length attacks Mr. Trump, saying they couldn't even stop him from an assault on the Capitol, and that he's crazy. You know, he's crazy. He's been crazy a long time. So don't say you don't know what his state of mind is. He's crazy, and what he did yesterday is further evidence of his craziness. But anyway, I appreciate what you said. Milley responds to Pelosi, "Madam Speaker, I agree with you on everything." He is attacking the commander-in-chief in a seditious manner with his political opponent, Speaker Pelosi. And by the way, we sued for these records, and they're still giving us the runaround. The authors quote General Milley as saying, "Bleep that sugar. I'll fight him," talking about Trump. "If they want to court-martial me or put me in prison, have at it, but I will fight from the inside." And as Chris points out, a general fighting from the inside against the president is the very definition of subversion. So obviously what Milley did pales in comparison, or what Mitchell did back in 1925, what General Mitchell did, pales in comparison to what Milley did. And the fact that he hasn't been court-martialed and is still serving as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff is really an indictment of our political system that rewards subversion, rewards sedition, as long as the target of this anti-Republican, anti-constitutional activity is of the right political persuasion, mainly a Republican or a conservative, or in the case of President Trump himself. So this is something we're very concerned about. We're still fighting in federal court for the records of this subversive, seditious conversation with Speaker Pelosi, or now former Speaker Pelosi. But I tell you, if you want to know why it is the Chinese feel that they can send balloons in a way that are, or at least one balloon in a way that highlights their ability, brazen ability to attack the United States in a way that was really an attack on the United States, it's because of military leaders like Milley. Milley's their buddy, and he was working with the Chinese against our elected president. So I don't trust him as far as I could throw him. And certainly the Senate and the House should take steps to investigate him and remove him. I think the military, I don't know if impeachment applies to the military. But certainly you can have a hearing or two into this sedition, don't you think? So there's a big list of Republicans, a big list of things that the House Republicans need to be investigating if they're serious about our national security, about the seditious conspiracy of the deep state, which isn't just the Justice Department and the FBI, it's the upper echelons of our military establishment. So this crisis of corruption has deep national security ramifications, and you can see with General Milley at the helm, in the instance of the Chinese balloon attack, we're placed at risk as a result of his incompetent corruption and contempt for our constitutional system. Terrible stuff. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and like our video down below.